hey, maybe we should have done that again. Honestly, Cube's mindset must have been stuck in 2016 when they debuted Lightsum, when their initial plans must have been, hey, let's just clone twice and see what happens. Well, now that they've seen what happened, it's finally time for them to get their shit together. Three months after the debut rollout, Lightsum dropped their first comeback, Vivace, along with a second single album. This time we got some actual music, and the real test began. With Vanilla being Lightsum's only song up to this point, we as the audience didn't have much to work with, and I questioned why Cube decided to debut them this way. Why debut your brand new girl group with a single song, especially with all of the potential cons that come with a strategy like this? For some people, a group's title track might not do it for them. I feel this way about a lot of groups. If I don't like the title track, then I'll at least scroll through the B-sides to see if there's one or two that I like. This usually keeps my interest in the group up and makes me look forward to whatever they put out next. There are plenty of groups that I only like for their B-sides, and very few that I only like for their title tracks. The title track is a representative song meant to introduce us to your group and give us a sense of what they have to bring to the table and what they plan to bring in the future. If it's a debut track, then this is a make or break moment for a rookie group. If the mainstream audience has no interest in your title track, then you have already lost a significant amount of momentum and interest for your group before you've even started. The only way, in my opinion, to avoid a catastrophe like this is to make sure you have some damn good B-sides alongside that title track. The only time it's acceptable to debut with one or two songs on a physical album for any group is A, you're from a smaller company who can't afford anything more, or B, your rookie group already has an established fan base willing to eat up anything that you're selling. At this point in their career, I don't believe Lightsum fit either of these categories. They were a baby group. What little fan base they might have had was not stable enough to risk releasing a single song. Sure, maybe Chowon, Nayoung, and Yoojung could have brought in their Produce 48 stands, and maybe that's what Cube was banking on. But this is an unstable strategy that does not guarantee success. On the flip side, with a single song on an album, you risk alienating any potential fans a group could gain at the start. Let's say I hate Vanilla, and I think to myself, you know what? That title track wasn't my cup of tea, so let me see what their B-sides sound like. If there are no B-sides, and Vanilla is my first and only impression of your group, and I already wasn't feeling it, then you've already lost me as a fan. I'm gonna forget Vanilla and Lightsum exist and move on to some other group. And this is likely what happened by the time Lightsum released Vivace. With Lightsum's second single album, Light a Wish, we got a title track, Vivace, and two B-sides, Popcorn and You Jam. Right from the get-go, there was a bit of a shift in Lightsum's overall aura, an attempt to age them up slightly to reveal a more elegant and mature side of them. Now I have no idea what Cube wanted us to get from this title track, but immediate complaints were that it sounded way too much like an IZ*ONE song. For some people, this was cool because this was released shortly after IZ*ONE had disbanded. And so many people were still feeling so nostalgic about them that this could have worked. I thought the song was cute, catchy, and once again, I really liked the short dance break beat drop in the middle of the chorus. I was starting to think that this little detail could become Lightsum's trademark, something that they could truly make their own, a mid-chorus beat drop that could allow them to show off what they do best, choreography. Because that, in my opinion, is how Cube should be marketing them. As a really strong dance group, specializing in unique, energetic choreography with interesting formations that's fun to watch alongside a heavy, upbeat, electropop title track to fully let them go off. Unfortunately, Vivace was not this. Even though the song was catchy, and even though it was fun to listen to, it wasn't something that was unique to Lightsum. The producers of IZ*ONE's most prominent title tracks had a huge hand in the production of Vivace, and it shows. The song was a near copy-paste replica of an IZ*ONE B-side, so I was confused. Lightsum still hadn't found their sound, they still hadn't found a song that could work with the concept that they should be aiming for. Vivace garnered them no new fans, with the only interest in conversation around it being how similar it sounded to IZ*ONE. Vivace charted about the same as Vanilla, number 8 on the US World Digital Charts, and no entry into the Ganon charts. Album sales wavered, selling only half of what Vanilli's single album sold, despite having 2 extra songs. And then, Lightsum disappeared. Their fanbase, Summit, was left to languish in the 7-month silence that would follow. Lightsum fan cams gathered dust on YouTube, and there was very little group content in all of this time. On occasion, something videos would randomly appear that seemed outdated, with the girls talking about events that had happened months earlier. There was little social media interaction, few variety appearances, and very few people talking about anything related to Lightsum, on Twitter, on Reddit, or even YouTube. It was honestly like they had disappeared off the face of the planet, with the only sign of actual life being the occasional YouTube short that they would drop, with them doing some new dance challenge, or just another Jooheon dance cover. There were a couple bright spots during this sudden hiatus. There was a Sangha Christmas vlog that popped up out of nowhere. 2 new dance covers popped up on their official YouTube channel, one with Jooyeon and Sangha covering Kill This Love, and a unit cover of Hello Future by NCT Dream, featuring Jooyeon, Yoojung, Hwiyeon, Sangha, and Nayoung. And this, I believe, was a very big positive, because like I said, what Cube should be doing is pushing the attention towards their dance line. Seeing these covers pop up made me feel like that they'd somehow read my mind, but between those covers and the random vlogs that would pop up on their channel, Lightsum's page was barren, and the fandom was starving. At this point, the only time Lightsum was mentioned was anytime someone wanted to shit on Cube, by complaining about the lack of group content, or the fact that their careers seemed to have stagnated before they've even gotten a chance to take flight. Noticing the lack of Twitter fan accounts, and some fan channels, made it very clear that the group hadn't managed to make much noise with Vanilla or Vivace. I admit that even though I liked their previous title tracks and their B-side U Jam, I was still nowhere near close to standing the group, mainly because their music just hadn't impressed me enough yet. And since they were charting internationally, it seemed like they were getting attention from somebody, so there was still some hope. All they needed now was that one song that would finally get everyone to look at them. A song that would break them out enough to leave a good impression. This comeback wouldn't even have to be some massive hit, or even pull in any major numbers. I wasn't expecting Boom Boom or Brave Girls level attention. I wasn't even expecting a sudden burst in album sales, especially since Vanilla and Vivace seem to have left a bad taste in many people's mouths, so many have probably tuned them out by now. Just getting people to glance at them for longer than 10 minutes would be enough for the world to realize that maybe, just maybe, Lightsum might finally be ready to step into the ring with other 4th-gen girl groups. And then, Alive was born. On May 9th, 2022, it was announced that Lightsum would make their second comeback with their first mini-album after their 7-month absence. I was pretty neutral on the announcement, happy that the girls were finally allowed to leave the dungeon and get some sunlight, but as for the comeback itself, my focus was lukewarm. Then the teaser photos dropped and my interest was piqued. The styling of the members strongly leaned towards a more girl crush image, and I got a little worried. Would Cube really be stupid enough to pull a CLC with this group, randomly change their concept from cute to girl crush just because the previous one wasn't hitting hard enough? Would they be dumb enough to allow history to repeat itself again? To let another talented group slip through their fingers? And then the audio snippet dropped.
You make me feel alive. 내가 살아있다는 게 느껴져.
And my feelings were confused because the snippet for Alive sounded far cuter than what I expected, which was weird, considering the girl crush styling I saw in the teaser photos. So then, I wondered, what the hell was Cube doing? Cute? Girl crush? Schoolgirl concept? High teen? I honestly couldn't put my finger on where they were going with this concept, until the music video dropped. The song that came out of my speakers caught me completely off guard. I'd read that the producers of ITZY's Wannabe had their hands on Alive, and considering what happened with Vivace, I was expecting another copy-paste song that would have them sounding like an ITZY cover band. What I heard instead was a song that finally hit the sound that Lightsum should have been doing from the very beginning. It was almost an exact replica of what I initially wanted for them. A high-energy, fun, electro-pop dance bop that would take all the best parts of Vanilla and Vivace, to form a great medley of girl crush and cute, Lightsum's perfect sound. Taking from the bubblegum cuteness of Vanilla in the verses and the heavy EDM beat drop in Vivace and Vanilla, they managed to create a concept that could finally work for Lightsum. Something no other 4th gen girl group was doing at the time. A cute girl crush hybrid with all the sass of a classic ITZY song like Wannabe and the bubbly aura of early Twice tracks such as Likey and Like Ooh Ah. I couldn't believe it. Cube finally got it right. First impressions of the song were overwhelmingly positive. More eyes had decided to glance at them, and most of them liked what they saw. Now, I'm not going to go down the delusional clown path and say that the song killed the charts, because it didn't. And that sucks. But it's also actually pretty okay. Alive only managed to chart on Bugs, where it quickly fell after day 1, and unfortunately hasn't seen much success since. Still, my original point stands. Alive is the song that finally understood the assignment, a song that didn't sound like it was borrowed from someone else's album. And before you say it, yeah, I'm aware that it carries some ITZY similarities. Those similarities, in my opinion, are not strong enough to make it sound like something that ITZY would have sung. I've never thought of ITZY as a cute group. They've always leaned more so towards girl crush, from image to sound to styling through and through. Alive is no doubt a song that's cuter and more bubblegum pop than anything in ITZY's current discography, with the closest sounding song being their most recent, Sneakers. Beyond that, any similarities between ITZY and Alive die the second the chorus kicks in. With this, we come to the most recent Lightsum news, the sudden departure of their youngest members, Hwian and Jian. Now, I don't know enough about the whole situation to truly judge what happened here. We don't have confirmation that the girls left on their own or if Cube just decided to boot them. So everything that I say here will surely just be pure speculation with absolutely no proof. All we know is this. On October 25th, 2022, Jian and Hwian were announced to have left the group suddenly, with little to no explanation. 1 second they were there, then suddenly they weren't. By the strange wording of Cube's announcement letter, it seems like they've planned to reorganize the group from this point forward. Now, I have no idea what this really means. I'm not even sure if Cube even knows. But here's what I got from it. At the time of their departure, Hwian and Jian were about 15 or 14 years old. They were babies, and probably shouldn't have even debuted to begin with for that reason alone, but that's a video for another day. Many people have speculated that this means that Cube might be aiming to give Lightsum a more mature concept by letting the minors go. On one hand, I've asked, then why the hell did they debut them in the first place? You knew how old they were when you recruited them. If you weren't willing to stick it out to see the bright, cute concept through until all of the girls were appropriate age to do more mature concepts, then don't debut minors. There's only so much concept-wise that you can do when you have a group with mostly minors, which might explain why Lightsum's comebacks and activities have been so few and far between since their debut. With child labor laws to consider, many of the members would need visas to travel and work outside of Korea, so Lightsum wasn't going to be able to promote much internationally. And with at least 4 of the members still likely in high school at the time of debut, their school schedules would also need to be reconciled with, hence why they have less music than they should. In terms of their initial concept, well, Cube tried to let them be cute because, like I said, many of the members were underage at the time of debut, and when that didn't deliver the desired results, Cube said, hey, the cute concept isn't working out the way we want it to, so let's give them a more mature concept. That might work. Then someone at the boardroom meeting with common sense likely said, wait, aren't most of the members underage? We can't be having literal children in skimpy outfits gyrating on floors. That's a bad look, y'all. So, what was Cube's solution? Well, we'll just put them on a semi-hiatus. Let them perform at festivals and award shows to remind people that they still exist, but we won't give them another comeback until all of the girls are old enough to do a more mature concept. Then we'll rebrand. But apparently, Cube forgot how math works. With Hwian and Jian being 15 and 14, it would have taken at least another 5 whole years before they were legal age in Korea. And there is no way in hell that Cube could keep Lightsum on the back burner for 5 years until the youngest minors were old enough to age up the concept. So instead, Cube decided to Thanos snap them from existence. Do I agree with this decision? No, because ultimately what you have here are 2 young girls whose dreams were likely crushed due to no fault of their own. Of course, there could be other factors to consider here. Maybe their parents intervened and decided to remove the girls from the group. I don't know. It's possible, but we'll likely never know the full truth. What we do know is that the last thing Lightsum, a group who was already struggling to garner a fan base, needed was the loss of 2 members. It was like Cube finally took a look at the current 4th gen girl group climate and noticed the uptick of various girl groups debuting with fewer members than groups from the 2nd and 3rd gen. Groups of those generations were used to debuting with 7 or more members. It was honestly weird to see any group with less than 7 members debut during those years. You had massive groups like WJSN and 17 with well over 10 members. So why the hell did Cube think that debuting an 8-member girl group in the 4th gen climate was a good idea? Now don't get me wrong, I liked Lightsum as OT8. It made their choreography look absolutely stunning, and their 8-member chemistry was off the charts in their variety content. But like it or not, smaller companies often look to larger ones to set trends so that they can follow in hopes of reaping some of the leftover success. Sure, following trends is not a one-size-fits-all solution for any group, but it's at least a decent enough roadmap to getting your group off the ground when you don't have Big 4 privilege to fall back on. With groups like IVE, LE SSERAFIM, New Jeans, STAYC, and obviously even I-DLE debuting with 6 and 5-member lineups, Cube must have thought to themselves in late 22, hey, maybe we should have done that again. Honestly, Cube's mindset must have been stuck in 2016 when they debuted Lightsum, when their initial plans must have been, hey, let's just clone twice and see what happens. Well, now that they've seen what happened, it's finally time for them to get their shit together. Alive is undoubtedly a song that Lightsum made their own, a great step in the right direction towards a brighter and more successful future in my opinion. Is this some innovative masterpiece deserving of hundreds of daysangs and 50 music show wins? No. Is it a song that has finally allowed Lightsum to push their bright concept as far as they can take it? Not quite. But I'd say that they are very close to getting there. Could they reach those great heights with their next comeback? Definitely. If all you're focusing on are Lightsum's numbers as a fan, then yes, I can completely understand how dreary things must look right now. All anyone wants to focus on in K-pop are numbers these days. From album sales, charting, billboards, Hunteo, and Circle, everyone sees these numbers and feel the need to compare, wondering when it will be Lightsum's turn to shine. Every other day, you hear about another 4th gen group breaking some arbitrary record, and for fans of some groups like Lightsum, groups who haven't quite yet found their footing in the industry, people might be quick to assume that it's all downhill from here. I beg to differ. Think of it from this perspective. Oh My Girl debuted in 2015 when they got their first win with Secret Garden in 2018. 3 full years after their debut. Just 2 years later, they got their first massive national hit in 2020 with Non-Stop, and their second with Dun Dun Dance in the same year. They've admitted to almost being on the verge of disbandment when they decided to appear on Queendom, a show that allowed them to fully shine. Dreamcatcher, a group that has been in the trenches climbing the ladder to make a name for themselves since 2017, finally got their first and second wins in 2022. After nearly 7 years in the industry, a lineup change, and a major concept switch-up. Receiving that kind of success after years of being the underdogs in an industry that cherishes company connections over the quality of music is a phenomenal feat. As a fan, that's all you can hope to see for Lightsum's future. Even if it's a slow and steady crawl, not every group is gonna come out the gate like IVE, winning every award in sight. Not every group is gonna find their sound instantly like STAYC, or hit massive jackpot sales at debut like aespa. Some need a little more time to marinate, and maybe Lightsum is one of them. For now, unless we hear otherwise, the girls seem to be enjoying themselves throughout this journey, creating beautiful memories, building lifelong connections, and bridging gaps in their efforts to solidify their fan base. Perhaps someday, in the not-so-far future, the girls might finally have their chance to step out into the light.